Yo, welcome back to the TV program, everybody. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today we're going to be reviewing two books at the same time. I don't really do this often, if ever, but we're going to be reviewing these as a pair. It's Exile's Children and Exile's Challange by Angus Wells. Books came out in 1996. I actually read them back then when they came out. I remember really liking them a lot. I reread these in 2014 and left a review on Goodreads, and then I think, I don't know what happened to my copies, but I either donated them to the prison or gave them to the used bookstore or whatever, but I lost my copies. And so then I saw these on mint condition on eBay, so I bought them because I wanted to get a little bit more into some Angus Wells books, because Angus Wells, you might know, is the guy, he's actually the guy that wrote one of my favorite series of all time, Wherein, these 1970s erotic trash fantasy novels, the Raven series. There's 5 books in this series. Maybe you've seen me review these. The chainmail bikini stuff. Oh, I love my 1970s erotic trash fantasy novel book collection. And Angus Wells wrote this. So I was interested in rereading a lot of the stuff he did in the 90s. Let's talk about the covers first. Came out in 1996, both of these books. One of the reasons I'm reviewing them together is because I have a feeling that they were one big, long book that Angus Wells turned into his publisher, and for whatever reason, they split them in two. Because they just kind of split in the middle of, there's no real, it's just split right in the middle of the story. And they should have just published it as one big volume. I mean, each book is about 500 pages. It would have been a 1,000-page paperback, but that's doable. They're everywhere. We got 1,000-page paperbacks all over the place, all the time. They could have done it, should have done it, but didn't. I'm going to review both books as if it was one big book. The covers, though. Oh my God, this cover is one of my favorite covers of all time. This screams out 1990s fantasy, whereas this cover screams out 1970s erotic trash fantasy. This cover screams out just straight up 1990, and as does this one. And they are both done by Stephen Ewell. They wrap around. Got this nice winter scene that wraps around to this fiery demon guy on a demon horse with the armor, the sparkling armor, and the Fabio face and hair. Oh, it's glorious. It's majestic. And then we've got his companion over here, the female demon on her demon horse out in the desert. Oh, Lord have mercy. What a magnificent painting Stephen Ewell did. Love it. So, what are these books about? They're actually damn fine books that are well written. These are just gems. Absolute gems. We start in the peaceful land of Ketawitko, which is sort of like Native American. I couldn't tell if Angus Wells was trying to go for more of a ancient Native American feel, or maybe an ancient Mongolian feel. But anyway, there's primitive people, and they ride horses. They wear buckskin clothing. I mean, it's very, like, they shoot bow and arrows. It's very, they live in tents. Very primitive. And then they have arranged marriages. And this is where the story gets started. This is where things go wrong right from the get-go. So this primitive culture, they've got an arranged marriage. There's some jealousy here. Someone wants to marry someone else, but blah, blah, blah. And there's a kidnapping. So the woman that's supposed to be in the arranged marriage gets kidnapped. And then they all go after the kidnappers. This is a bad deal. I mean, the kidnapper is the jealous dude. Her husband and father go after the kidnapper, yada, yada. This is where the plot starts to unravel in the land of Ketawitko, the very primitive land. Then we jump to the land of Evandar, which is more of a Victorian age type of place. And we meet the street urchin David, who is a thief, 13 years old. He gets tossed into prison for thievery, okay? And then we move to the land of Bantar, and we meet Fleece, who's a tavern girl. And she gets hit on like most tavern girls, and people are, sexually, coming on to her. They're being inappropriate, blah, yeah. And anyway, she ends up assaulting one of her customers. She gets thrown into prison because, she assaulted an officer. And then we go to the land of Levan. I don't know. We meet Arcoil Blake. He is a rakish gambler, and he gets tossed into prison for accidentally murdering a nobleman. Well, it wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose, but he didn't realize it was a nobleman. Anyway, they're all bound to all three of them are bound to a life of servitude in the prison colony of Salvation. Now, keep in mind, in the land of Ketawitka, which is very primitive land, we have very little technology. In the other lands of Vandar, Bantar, and Levan, it's more of a Victorian age. They've got flintlock pistols. They've got cannons. They've got these kind of things. Now, who are these people on the cover? Because they're the most badass people in the story. They are the breakers. And they don't show up for a while. But when they show up, all hell breaks loose. As you can imagine, they're these demon people, these just bad. They come out of these fiery portals, and they just are savage, red-eyed beasts that just take no names and no prisoners, and they they terrorize everything. All three of these storylines, we've got the prisoners on their way to the prison colony of Salvation, and they are from the Victorian age part of the world. We've got the more Native American primitive people that you just ride the horses, shoot the bows and arrows, and wear buckskin clothing. Then we've got the breakers, which are these badass demons. And it all converges and it all comes together. And they all intermingle eventually and have battles and political intrigues and love interests and love stories and all of the stuff that goes along with a great fantasy drama. And there's a ton of action, an absolute ton of action. It takes a little bit of a while to get going, but once it gets going, it's just like a non-stop train. It's just action, 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 intrigue, intrigue, intrigue. Characters are great. They're wonderfully drawn. And I only hit the tip of the iceberg. I mean, this is just absolutely a great book, split in two. I give it, as one whole novel, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. If, I'm telling you, had they, and I don't know why this makes a difference to me, if it would have been published in just one big 1,000-page epic volume, this would be a 10 out of 10 for me. An absolute top-notch fantasy. And I bet you they would have sold more copies too had they done it that way. But publishers being publishers, they oftentimes make choices that are just, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it was planned this way by the author. And, if that's the case, then I'll eat my words. But I give it a 9.5. I'm dropping it a half a point just because of the two. Some say 2 is better than 1. In this case, I would have went 1 is better than 2.